payload away from him, in the direction of the crowd. After a second of eerie, almost silence, the screams began. Lenny leapt to his feet and pulled out a Glock 17 pistol from inside his jacket. He began firing rapidly into the crowd as he advanced across the road through the stationary traffic. When the Glock was empty, he ejected the magazine, slammed a new one in, and began firing again until that one was empty. He then dropped the pistol on the floor and returned to his bench, sat down, and waited. He laughed, elated as he heard the approaching sirens, just audible over the terrible screams. Chapter 2. The four men sat opposite each other in the cheapest ground-floor room in the cheap North London hotel. There was an atmosphere of turgid tension that you could slice open with a knife. 10 oblong blocks, each about the size of a house brick, sat on the table, arranged like a small wall. Each was securely wrapped in brown masking tape. "I'm telling you guys, this Charlie is the best you're likely to find anywhere. Just look at the flakiness of it. Columbia's finest marching powder, boys, and you're getting it cheap. Tell 'em, Larry," said the oldest of the four men, with an enforced jocularity that did not mask his crippling nerves. Larry was a younger man in his 40s, with a limp moustache and a crumpled shirt. "It sure is, Mick. It's good as gold, boys. Straight off the boat. You won't find a trace of any nasty cutting agents in there, straight up." Larry and Mick really did not look like they belonged in that hotel room with the 10 kilograms of pure, uncut cocaine that had been recently top-sliced from a much bigger consignment seized from a trawler, which had in turn been intercepted just off the coast of Felixstowe by the authorities, and all the crew arrested. They especially looked out of place, as both were investigation officers from the United Kingdom Border Force. Larry and Mick were, not to put it too finely, shitting themselves. The other two men in the room didn't look so nervous at all. In fact, they looked positively at home. "Thing is, boys, we know you're ripping this off your employers, and as public servants you ought to be fucking ashamed," one of them, called Vinny, smiled. "But on the basis of helping you two with your forthcoming retirements, I reckon I can do you both a favour by taking it off your hands." Vinny was stocky, looking and sounding tough with his rapid-fire Cockney patter and air of utter confidence. "Now, my good friend here, Freddie, isn't given to favours," continued Vinny. "He is without my sunny disposition. In fact, he's a right moody bastard and insists on not taking suppliers at their word. He will insist on testing the product. I tried to tell him that as two fine and upstanding servants of Her Majesty you wouldn't try and rip us off, but he won't have it. You see, his instinct when he gets ripped off is to tear the head off the individual ripping us off, and to be frank, shit down their necks. Now, this presents us with a problem, as Freddie ripping both of your heads clean off your shoulders would attract attention we would rather not have. So, gentlemen," Vinny paused and showed his teeth in a nasty smile, "I hope the product is what you say it is." Larry and Mick looked across at Freddie, who was slouched on the bed with a half-bored look on his face. He had deep brown, almost black eyes that glittered with menace. He had not said a word since they had arrived at the hotel, but simply sat there, a brooding presence that they found rather unsettling. "Straight up, Vinny," Larry gabbled, perspiration forming on his top lip. "The rest of the haul has been tested and it's 90% pure. That's why we're asking the price we're asking for." Okay, don't shit your pants," Vinny said, shaking his head. "Freddie, over to you." Freddie stood up and reached into his rucksack, removing a small cardboard box from inside. Moving to the piled-up bricks, he selected 2 at random, and pulling up a chair, sat down with a sigh. He produced a sharp craft knife and carefully made a small slit in the first brick, then, using a small plastic spatula, dropped a few grains of the white powder into a small plastic bottle. Moving to the next brick, he performed the same action again, tipping a few grains of the white powder into another, identical bottle. He then took 2 small bottles containing clear liquids and mixed them together, shaking them vigorously. "Freddie likes